Honestly, I can't even believe that Donald Trump just said this. I'm like in shock. Here's what he said. Donald Trump said today as the markets were closing, quote, "We'll be fighting China in a very friendly fashion." When I look at the comments on this, nobody even understands what Trump was referencing. And I'm here to explain. Donald Trump was referencing that we're going to be fighting China, quote, in a very friendly fashion, meaning the AI Cold War. This does not have anything to do with trade wars. He is referencing the AI Cold War that we are currently in with China. Now, this may sound scary. Anything that has to do with war and China in the same sentence, you would think is negative for markets. But an AI Cold War with China is going to make you likely a lot of money, potentially millions of dollars. I will explain why in this video that a Chinese-America Cold War is the best possible thing that could happen to markets and your portfolio. Now, I really want to highlight this. An AI Cold War with China that is coupled with a trade war is not good. It does seem like in recent days, really over the past couple of weeks, the relationship between the US and China has got decisively healthier. Specifically in the last 24 hours, the Trump administration has lifted restrictions on NVIDIA and their H200 chips that they can sell to China, a very competitive AI chip. Okay, that is a very much step in the right direction. Compare this to you or your friend, right? If you guys got into a disagreement, an argument, and you said, okay, I was wrong, I apologize. Here you have it, give XYZ back, do whatever you got to do to apologize, right? That's kind of what it sounds like with the H200 restriction being lifted. More than it is, important from a product perspective, it does highlight a bettering relationship with China. Even the tone and terminology that Trump used in that statement, saying we're going to fight China in a very friendly way, sounds good compared to where we were just a couple of weeks ago. Now, let me take the next 2 minutes to explain why an AI Cold War with China and not an actual war with China with semi-level-headed relations, trade, militarily. Like, you don't want an all-out conflict with China. You don't want a trade war with China. But long story short, a Cold War in AI with technology, essentially a technology race with China, is the best possible outcome for the markets and for your portfolio. The reason for this is simple. In a capitalistic economy, there's always competition. Competition to make the best product at the best price to innovate the fastest, okay? So there's always an underlying push to do bigger and better, cheaper things. But then when you add the outsized pressure from another country that is competing with you, there is a lot of additional competition on a global front, on, just the American economy front, on a government front, okay? The government doesn't want to lose an AI Cold War to China. So it's very likely that you continue to get very positive incentives that are aligned with the US winning an AI Cold War against China. For an example, the provision in the Big Beautiful Bill that allows for 100% depreciation on capital investments. Do you know how big that is? Like, if you go out and build a $50 million data center, okay, you can write all of that off the first year. If you go put, you know, 5 billion in semiconductors in there, you go write that off in the first year. Okay, that is a huge CapEx initiative to get building, to get producing. Okay, that is no surprise to me, partially due to the Cold War that's going on with China in terms of AI. So basically, the amount of innovation you would have gotten in, 30 years happens in 10, or it happens in 5, right? Because there's a race to do bigger, better, and, win the AI Cold War, essentially. That's what is coming and has already started, okay? This is going to drive a very fast rate of improvement, whether it's semiconductors or end applications of AI. And ultimately, corporate profitability is going to be better than ever in the years to come, and really the next 10 years. Because partially, this AI Cold War. You could almost call this an economic Cold War, but at the center of it, it's really focused around AI. And this was the first time I have heard Trump really reference anything about technology or AI Cold War with China. It's one of the main investing themes that I think is going to be with us for the next 10 years, that is going to be talked about a lot more in the next 10 years. This race for innovation. Now, the faster things improve, typically the better a stock or company will do, right? If a company comes out with a bigger, better, cheaper product, they're probably going to do better than if they have a worse product, right? The rate of improvement in the economy with technology is going to fuel this market for years to come. For an example, just to add some, reference to this, it's not like we've had a bunch of history with Cold Wars, but the United States and the Soviet Union were in a Cold War. Just to add a little bit of historical context, because we all love history, it tends to not necessarily repeat itself, but it tends to rhyme, okay? I asked Grok here, did the United States see a lot of innovation during the Cold War with the Soviet Union or Russia? It says, yes, the United States experienced significant innovation during the Cold War with the Soviet Union from 1947 through 1991, driven by geopolitical competition, massive government investment, and the need to maintain technological and military superiority. The rivalry spurred advancements across multiple sectors, with lasting economic and societal impacts. Below is a concise overview based on historical data and relevant insights. Space exploration, that one's obvious. Military and defense, that is obvious. Creation of IBMs and stealth technologies and nuclear technologies. Okay, fine. Computing and electronics. Competition spurred advances in computing, with IBM and others developing mainframes for military and space applications. The invention of the integrated circuit, 1958. Basically semiconductors, and microprocessors, early 1970s, laid the foundation for the digital revolution. It happened because of the first Cold War. Like, we are here today, as advanced as a country as we are today, partially because of the Cold War. If the Cold War had never happened, the internet may just now be a thing in 2025 instead of in 2000. I know it sounds crazy to think of it like that, but the competition spurred really the need for bigger, better, faster technologies that led one thing to another, and here we are today in a very technologically advanced society. Okay, it says Silicon Valley emerged as a hub fueled by defense contracts and academic collaborations, Stanford and MIT, energy and materials, nuclear energy, innovations in material science like high-strength composites and polymers were driven by aerospace and military needs, medical and scientific research, Cold War funding for science, National Science Foundation budgets, accelerated discoveries in physics, chemistry, and medicine. I mean, there's so much innovation that happens so fast during these Cold War events. It's incredible, okay? It says relevance to the AI Cold War. The Cold War's innovation surge offers a parallel to a potential US-China AI Cold War. Similar government-driven investments, example, the CHIPS Act, a $52 billion act in 2022, and private sector competition could drive AI, semiconductor, and cybersecurity advancements, benefiting stocks in those sectors. I mean, it says conclusion, the Cold War with the Soviet Union was a catalyst for transformative U.S. innovation, particularly in space, defense, computing, and materials, driven by government funding and geopolitical rivalry. The precedent suggests an AI Cold War could similarly spur innovation, boosting AI-related stocks. So an AI Cold War with China, hopefully we can establish as being a very positive tailwind on this market. Capital expenditures, some of the provisions in the Big Beautiful Bill are really going to help speed up some of those capital investments that companies may have been putting off the last couple of years. Building that new factory, upgrading equipment, data centers, I mean, farm equipment, even like anything, right? It's a big deal. Mix that with an AI Cold War with China, not a trade war and not a actual war, turns into a very positive catalyst for this market. As long as we have friendly competition, that's great. Now, stocks did well during the actual Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union. There was always that threat of the world ending and a nuclear, apocalypse, right? The Cold War with China is quite a bit different in the sense of we know we can never go to war with China. China knows they can never go to war with the US. It's just impossible. Like, how China couldn't get an invasion force across the ocean to the US. Okay? We would it'd be a war at sea. And then you could never invade the US. It just logistically could not happen. It's impossible to happen, okay? We could never get an invasion force onto China. It's logistically impossible, okay? Same goes. It would be a war at sea, if anything. That's never going to be the end outcome of this, for humanity's sake, I would hope. But from an investing perspective, we are at the very early innings of a Cold War with China, with my hopes that is very much friendly competition. Like, I am all for as much collaboration as possible with China. Like, bring more Chinese stocks over here. List our stocks in China. Like there should be this friendly dynamic to it. And I think the underpinning of what would be a friendly dynamic is the understanding of nobody wins in an actual war against one another. But the bottom line is, that's not going to stop an AI Cold War that has already begun. If there's 9 innings of this AI Cold War, you're like 25% into inning 1. Like, it's in the baby stages of an AI Cold War. This is a theme that's going to be here for decades to come. And I do believe Wall Street's going to start picking up on this a little bit more. And I do think as certain events start to take place, like we realize by the end of this year, we don't have an inflation problem. The economy's holding up. The provisions in the Big Beautiful Bill are very stimulative, like the deficit, like the CapEx expending. And then at the same time, we get 8 to 10 rate cuts in the next 18 months. We could be entering into a pretty euphoric period in markets. So let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. It's one thing that I just keep going back to with all of the other positive things happening, it's like the rapid pace of innovation itself is a big tailwind for this market that I don't think Wall Street is fully appreciating or realizing yet. That leads me into the last thing that I want to talk about in this video. That is the trading community, link down below in the description of this video. I'm actually not a huge fan of some of the high-flying AI stocks today. I think they're great companies, but they're up a lot. What I am doing in the trading community, the best community in the world, in my opinion, is going out and finding those smaller cap companies and the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x opportunities. Okay, they are out there. If they don't have a lot of institutions covering them, if they're sub-billion-dollar companies, market caps, and they don't have a big retail investor base, they're basically overlooked. Some of these companies are trading at a fraction, a third, or a quarter of what some of the other high-flying stocks are trading at. Pure play AI stocks, great management, CEOs like 30% ownership in the company, like everything that checks the boxes. The only thing is, it's not known by anyone on Wall Street, or retail investors don't know about it. That's the kind of opportunities that I view as they don't come around all that often. Okay, and when they do, I like to invest in them. Like Nebius at $17. Today it's $55. Novartis at $2. Today it's $6 or $7. IONQ at $7. I bought that stock. It's in the 40s today. I could go on and just the opportunities I have found that have been under the radar in the last 12 months that have exploded on the scene to where everyone knows about them. Applied Digital, I bought that stock heavily in the $3 range. Today it's over 10. Okay? There's a lot of those that come up every so often that are massive opportunities. Those are the ones that I'm really excited about. So come check it out, link down below in the description of this video. I do post all of my trades, any short-term trades that I make, swing trades, all of that. But a lot of these AI investments are like 1 to 2 year time horizons. They're not day trades by any means. So check that out, link down below in the description of this video. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.